The guy you're about to hear is Tim McBride. In the 1980s, Tim was one of the most prolific weed smugglers on planet Earth. And the story you're about to hear is how Tim and his buddy, corrupt Panamanian President Manuel Noriega, successfully stole back 30,000 pounds of weed from the blissfully ignorant U.S. government. Here we go.
So I said, 60,000 pounds is a big job, that's 30 tons. And I said, typically we would never approach a boat twice. We would get it all in one night. In the earlier days, you could do something like that with a boat that had, 300,000+ pounds on it. You could go out there night after night until it's empty, and then he could take off and like that. But as
now
the
you
years
don't want it sitting there.
As the years going by, we don't want him sitting there. We don't want him loaded like this. And I said, well, show me. They were going to use their own boat. Now there was two different ways to do this. I'd do the whole scenario, go point it, pick it out, and buy it and shit, and send a boat and get it and put it on your doorstep for $175 a pound. Now, if you wanted me to purchase your material for you and you want to send your boat to get it and bring it to me, that's $145 a pound. So you're getting a bit of a deal. But most of the time, they always option for me to do the whole thing. Well, in this case, they had a boat of their own they wanted to use. It was a Panamanian registered vessel. And I said, well, show me what the vessel looks like. Give me a drawing, a schematic, or something, what's the hull look like? Well, in this particular ship, there was a forward and behind the forecastle, which is the forward section, bow section, hold. It's called the forecastle. Mm-hmm. There was a access to the bilge for maintenance compartment down there. It was big enough where you could put half a load, 30,000 pounds of shit.
Oh, it was huge.
Right. This was a big size boat. Well, in the maintenance closet that takes you down to this maintenance compartment had a floor hatch that you go like this and pick up like that, and you could access that. And I said, well, don't press the bales any bigger, then we'll go down that fucking hole. Put half of it down in there, shut that door, and the door leading into that compartment was a watertight door. Every door or doors that lead to the bilge of the boat are watertight. And if you've ever seen, and I know you've seen like on a submarine or a boat where they open the door and they step over the threshold, the thresholds are about 18 inches tall. So when you close that hatch inside that room, you could put, it only stuck up 4 inches above the deck. I said, well, put all that first 30,000 down in there. And the room wasn't even maybe a quarter the size of this room right here. It was all the bigger that maintenance compartment was.
Wow.
And I said, put 5 inches of concrete in there and cover that hatch up and throw the buckets and mops and sponges and rags and all that shit back in there and shut that door and leave it in there. And we'll come the first night and get what you've got in the main ship's hold. We'll get that the first night. And then when we come back the next night, when we radio you were coming, you jackhammer that hatch open and start bringing that second load out of there, right? So we get in and get the first half in there, and we're buckled down for the night. The next day we're sending this shit, and I get word that the boat's been seized by the Coast Guard because it got approached and boarded as a matter of course. But the residue and debris from the first 30,000 pounds was all over still inside that boat.
They hadn't cleaned it.
So they took the crew off the boat and brought the boat into the Tampa Bay, into the port in Tampa.
Now, were you worried about being burned?
Well, what happened was after they got that boat, it still had that second 30,000 pounds in it. They didn't know it was there.
Oh, shit. 'Cause
it's sealed over, and this residue from the other first 30,000 hit any kind of a smell or any kind of, they couldn't detect anything.
But they couldn't take a dog on that boat?
They couldn't take it on there. They all have the whole fucking boat smelled like pot.
Oh my God.
Because of the debris and the residue from the first 30,000. Well, they get this boat, and the next night, because here comes George again. He says, dude,
we got to go get
what happened? He said, do you know whose shit that was? I said, of course not. Who the fuck? He says, that was a Presidentes. I said, the general. He said, General fucking President who? He said, Noriega. And I went, my knees went, I said, what? No shit.
But that's not your fault that it got caught.
No. And there, and again, in those offshore scenarios and going, to South America and whatnot for other people's shit, whoever the owner of the shit is that we're going to purchase for always had one of their people on that boat riding with my guys. So he could count the pieces as they come on board with my guy counting them. When they got to shore and they got to Miami, they count them again. So when the counts match up, everything's cool. Right. If the boat gets boarded on the high seas and gets taken over and taken, he goes with it. So he can come back and tell them exactly what happened to that fucking shit.
What do you mean he goes with it?
He rides with the boat. If the boat gets busted, he's busted with the crew, and the Cuban guy they put on the boat goes to jail with everybody else.
Right, okay.
So he can tell them afterwards exactly what took place. We didn't throw it. We didn't take it. We didn't lose it. The government, somebody took it. We got busted.
Which then exonerates everybody.
Which is all cool because that was our safety valve built into that end of it. So always somebody that belongs to the load goes with it. Always one guy.
Paid
like
soldier.
Right. So in this case, he comes to me and tells me whose shit it is. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, okay, well, what? So what? He made more money on that first 30,000, at $10 a pound. And I'll do the math for you on that in a minute to explain why there's no violence at that level. Absolutely none, because there doesn't have to be. What happened was the boat was held in confiscation for 3.5, almost 4 months, until the trials and all that stuff got taken place. But being a Panamanian registered vessel, they couldn't keep it because the owner of the vessel wasn't on it. The captain says on a single sideband radio back to Panama, and they reported it to the
stolen
to the maritime authorities. The boat was hijacked at sea and stolen.
Oh,
so
man.
they get it back. So the boat gets deported back to Panama.
It's a whole crew of pirates, man. They came too fast.
Check this out, though. The boat gets deported from Tampa back to Panama
with the weed.
Turned over with the weed still in it. Oh, man. Turned over to the owner of the boat. Noriega put another crew on it and sent it back. We jackhammered that shit and got the rest of his shit out of that same boat.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, check out this full Trendifier with Julian Dorey podcast episode by clicking the link right here or the one down in the description below. And also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.